Hi folks, my name is Eric and I'm one of the PMs on the Mosaic AI platform team. Today, I'm going to show you how to build agents with Databricks. Before we dive in, let's talk about the challenges we hear from our customers. Now, agents can deliver great business ROI, but the path to production is really hard. First, how do you control your data and your models? How do you make sure sensitive data doesn't leak? How do you ensure that your enterprise governance rules are followed by your agents? Two, achieving production level quality is really hard. How do you get the agent from a POC to something that can actually deliver ROI? And third, building and delivering agents has a lot of cost at scale. It's time consuming to build agents. Foundational models are expensive. With Mosaic AI Agent Framework and Evaluation, we enable you to build production quality, enterprise-ready agents significantly faster. First, our agents are integrated with a Unity catalog, so you have complete control and they respect your existing data and AI governance. Two, we give you a suite of tools to help drive to production quality. We help you measure and evaluate and understand what's going on so you can fix the problems. Third, we give you a rapid development environment. We've seen teams shave months off their time to market by using our agent tooling. So let's dive into a demo. I'm going to build a customer and product analytics agent today. I'll show you how in building this agent, you can use our synthetic data generation capabilities, our quality evaluation tools, our fast developer loop for improving quality, and how you can collaborate with your subject matter experts to get the input that you need. So this bot that we're going to build, it'll be able to answer questions like, have we seen more returns recently? When customers call to return name of product, what are they telling us? I heard that one of our big customers is frustrated. What did they buy recently? What have they said to our support team? So how are we going to do this? The technical approach that I'll follow today is I'll build a multi-agent using a supervisor pattern to orchestrate the child agents. So I'll have a user query come into my multi-agent orchestrator, which has two agents. The first will be a function calling agent, which will have several tools. It'll have some Python code tools, some SQL tools, and several vector databases of the call center transcripts and some of our product documentation. My second agent will be a Genie data room agent. Inside this Genie data room, I'll have several tables about our customers, their orders, recent activity on the app, etc. So let's switch over to the notebook. So to prep for today's demo, I went ahead and I built these various tools and vector search indexes and Genie rooms that I just mentioned. Let me just quickly show you these. On the left, I have a UC tool or UC function called user orders. It runs a SQL statement. On the right, I have one of my Python tools. This one happens to translate SKUs from our old format to our new format. You can kind of see the Python code here. And then we have our Genie data room. And so in here, I've got information about our application events, recent orders, who the users are, so on and so forth. I've tested and iterated on this Genie bot to ensure that it's high quality. Great. So the first thing that I need to do is create the agent. And so the challenge that we hear from customers here is, how do I enable developers of all skill levels to be able to get started quickly? How do we let them rapidly iterate without having to touch code, but let them still have access to the code when they need it to improve quality? So with our AI playground, it's incredibly easy to get started. First, I'll choose the model. Today, I'll use GPT-4. And I'll select these tools that I've created. And I'll just put this one in for now. And now I can ask a question. Help me translate old SKU, the new format. And here in the playground, I can quickly iterate on quality and tune settings. Agents evaluations, AI judges, are directly integrated, so I can quickly assess if the responses are accurate or not. When I need more control than the UI offers, I can click export, and I'll get a set of notebooks where I can continue iterating on the agent. It's worth pointing out here that this tool was a piece of Python code. That Python code is actually running in our secure SafeSpark compute environment. So it's completely sandboxed and respecting all of your Unity catalog permissions through our lake guard technology. So I went ahead and I exported this code and I brought it back into the playground so I can play with it. So let's just try a sample question here. I've asked it, what's the top customer issue? You can see here, it was able to pull some call center transcripts. I can click on them, and luckily my agent is grounded. Now that I have a prototype, I want to measure its quality across a representative set of questions. Now, the challenge that we hear from customers is that it's really tough to get your busy subject matter experts to write hundreds of diverse questions with detailed ground truth answers. But if you don't have this data, or developers aren't the domain experts, how can they start quality improvement without this data? How do you do this without waiting for months for your subject matter experts to label data? Well, with agent evaluation, you can create synthetic data that enables you to quickly measure quality. So what I'll do here, I'll take maybe my product documentation and my call center transcripts, and I'll put it into our synthetic data API and create an evaluation set. So here, I'll go ahead, I'll load that product documentation. I have it in a Delta table. You can see, a couple different products. And let me come down here. I'll import our API, which is in Python SDK. Optionally, I can give the API some guidelines. This is optional, but here I tell it, I want you to address scenarios that customer support agents may face while helping customers understand our products. I give it a few sample questions. You can tell I don't really know what to ask, how to troubleshoot some issue. And then I'll go ahead and call our API. Let me start this here. For the purpose of the demo, I'll pass in 5 documents, these guidelines, and I'll ask for 1 question per document. So this will run. This in the background. This is based on our proprietary research technology, where we have worked to tune the quality of this synthetic data. So let's see what comes out. I've got a set of questions. I've got the ground truth, which facts should be in each response, as well as the document that it actually came from. So now that I've got this data, I want my stakeholders to review it to make sure that it's high quality and represents what's important to the business. Now, the challenge here is, how do I do this without exporting this to an ugly spreadsheet and handing that over to my users? Now, with agent evaluation, I can quickly take that data and I can load it into our subject matter review UI. I'll come back to this UI a bit later in our demo because, importantly, I'm actually unblocked to go start evaluating and improving the quality of my agent. Our synthetic data is high enough quality that you can find and fix a large number of common issues. But I'll kick this off. I'll go ahead and I'll add those synthetic evaluations to the UI, and I'll share this link with my subject matter experts so they can get started in the background. Great. So now I want to do an initial evaluation of my agent. And hopefully it's great quality, but more likely than not, it's got some issues that I'll need to fix. So the challenges we've heard around evaluation is, first and foremost, what are the right metrics to use? How do I trust the output of these metrics? Two, we've heard you need to evaluate a lot of different ideas to be able to actually improve quality. How can you run evaluation quickly so that the majority of your time isn't spent sitting waiting for evaluation to run? And finally, once I have an evaluation, how do I action it? How do I quickly identify the root causes? How do I determine if a change actually improved quality? Did it improve quality in some places but regress in others? How do I do that? And so with agent evaluation, which is tightly integrated with ML flow, we help solve these problems. Let me walk you through an example here. So what I'll do here is I'll import our evaluation data set from before. I'll go ahead, I'll start an MLflow run, and I'll actually kick this cell off because it'll take a couple seconds to run. I'm going to go ahead, I'll log a copy of my agent to MLflow so that I know exactly what configuration and code I evaluated. This is the agent I exported earlier. Now, this is optional, but you can define a custom LLM judge. So in this case, I'm going to ask it to check if I'm following a professional style. Finally, I'll go ahead and I'll kick off agent evaluation. So we're integrated into MLflow evaluation. I'll pass that model I logged, the evaluation data set, and I'll tell it to use agent evaluation, and I'll pass that extra metric in. Now, what's going to happen here in the background, as you can see down here, we're going ahead and we've run evaluation. And so at this point, agent evaluation has taken our proprietary LLM judges that have been tuned by our research team to run fast and agree with humans. And they've gone through, they've looked at each response in my evaluation set. They've identified if there are any root causes or any quality issues and what the root causes are. So let me go ahead and I ran this earlier with a larger number of questions. So let me open up those results, but I can just click this button. So here's my initial results. I can see 280 of 400 questions are passing. So not terrible, but not where I need to be. Now, what agent evaluation has done here is we've identified what are the root causes. So 12.5% have an issue with correctness. 12% have an issue with context efficiency. And you can see here, each of these judges, I can quickly filter. So let's look at context efficiency. I'll click into one of these. Now, this UI helps me quickly look at the data. I can see what the model said. I can see what facts should have come back. And I can look at the retrieved documents. Let's go through the judges. So first, our answer correctness judge looks and says, hey, was this answer correct based on these facts? We check if the answer was grounded or the model was hallucinating. And we look at the retriever and see if it was returning sufficient information or not. We also check safety and relevancy of the answer. In this case, you can see that the root cause was that the context was insufficient. There wasn't enough information coming back from the retriever. Now, at this point, I can also use, if I need to see more details of what's happening, I can open up the MLflow trace. So the MLflow trace, if you're using LangGraph or AutoGen or other popular frameworks, we automatically extract this information for you. Or if you want to do custom instrumentation, you can use our decorators. So I can actually see the complete behavior of the agent, the calls to the LLMs, the calls to the vector search. So this is great for debugging and observing what's actually happening under the hood. So coming back, we've determined that context efficiency is an issue I want to solve. So let me come back to my notebook. Now, what I did offline before this demo is I actually looked through about 20 or so more examples. And what I determined was that the LLM was often over filtering. It was being too restrictive in how it was sending filters to my vector search index. So just, as a simple example for the demo, I went ahead and I did a little bit of prompt tuning. I told it, how it should use the retriever, don't use filters quite as much. So I've taken these, I'll go ahead and run this. And I've gone ahead and reran the same evaluation code you saw above. So let's open up the view here. I ran it earlier on a lot more questions. And let's take a look. So I can see overall, I improved quality by 26 questions. You might ask yourself, did I make any worse? Well, you can see I've got a ton that I improved, some that are still not good, and then also some that I've actually made worse accidentally. So what I can do here, let's just take a look at one of these. And now I can compare what's happening before and after. And so looks like before the filters were being applied, but here they weren't being applied properly. So I definitely have some more work to do, but these interfaces really help me efficiently figure out what's going on and decide what that next step is. Now, let's fast forward, and imagine I've fixed these prompts and I've got a few candidate models. Now, quality is the most important thing for my business stakeholders, but they do care about cost and latency. And so with agent evaluation and ML flow, I can easily compare the cost and latency and help make informed trade-offs with my business stakeholders. So let me come over here to the ML flow runs dashboard. And I've loaded these two runs that I just showed you into the dashboard. Of course, I did improve quality. So I can see that the quality of the new one, the red bar, is a bit higher. But at the same time, I have increased the cost, by about 1,000 tokens, although I've dropped latency a little bit. So with this type of information, I can also dig in. I can look at the more detailed metrics. I can see that safety is actually the same across both, which is great. I can look at the LLM judge for retrieval. I can see that, I did improve retrieval net overall. And so these dashboards are great for making informed trade-offs with your business stakeholders. Now, let's go ahead and come back to my subject matter experts. They've been working through in the background here. And, the challenges that we've heard about collaborating with SMEs is, how do you efficiently collect feedback from these folks who are busy, have limited time? They're not professional labelers. They want a good experience. And then if you're going to have them invest all this time, how do you make sure that they collect high quality data for you? So I mentioned the SME review app. Let me go ahead and open that up here. And so what this application allows you to do, it's a high fidelity UX designed for a business user. And we've tried to gamify the experience as much as possible. So in this case, we'll see, is this a realistic question? So yep, let's say it is a realistic question. And now they can follow a guided process to provide ground truth answers. We'll move on to the next one. Maybe this isn't quite as good of a question. They can reject it, so on and so forth. Now, the best part about this data, as soon as the SME labels it, it flows back into my managed evaluation set. So I can actually run evaluation with this updated data as soon as it's available. Now, let's fast forward. I've made some more quality improvements, and it's time to roll out my bot to a larger set of users for testing. So the challenges that we've heard from customers here is, well, how do I quickly make a nice chat UI for my stakeholders to use? 2, how do I track each piece of feedback that I'm getting and have it linked to the things like the trace that I showed you earlier? How do I do that without having a big ugly spreadsheet? And then if I send it out to 100 users, how do I look at their feedback at scale? And so agent evaluation and framework make these steps incredibly simple. So first, what I'll do here is I'll take the agent model that I was happiest with, and I'll register it to the Unity catalog. And I'll go ahead and I'll call agents.deploy and pass that model name in and the version I want to deploy. Now this is great. At this point, after this command runs, I have a production-ready, highly scalable API that's hosted on model serving. Now, what we also have deployed here is a review application. And so the review application is designed for collecting feedback from your stakeholders who actually want to interact with the bot. Now, you could also wire up your own custom UI here. We provide you APIs for getting the model responses, for sending user feedback in. And all of the data that's coming through here is logged through AI Gateway into an inference table with your request and feedback logs. Okay, so now let's go over to the review app. I've asked a question earlier, and what I can see here is the bot's response. Now, the subject matter expert, they can say, hey, maybe this wasn't a good response. They'll say no, and it was not helpful, and it was too long. Share that feedback. They could optionally edit the response. Maybe this wasn't relevant. And they can look at all of the outputs of the tools to understand what was used in generating this response. So maybe this was a good one, but this was not as helpful. So now all this feedback is saved back into a Delta table through the AI Gateway. So let's come back over here to our notebook. And let's actually look at that. So I can go ahead and I can query this table. And let's click on one of these. Now, what I can see here is I have the full ML flow trace, so I exactly know what happened, as well as the user's feedback here in the table. Now, this is great for looking at a single log, but I need to understand feedback at scale. So what I've also turned on is our monitoring dashboard. So our monitoring dashboard automatically set up for you. It can show you, how many requests were you getting? What was the latency of those requests? What feedback have you gotten from users? You can see I'm consistently getting some negative feedback. As well, we run the same judges that you're using in your offline quality loop here in production. So you can see we definitely have some quality issues to fix. I can look at what topics were being discussed, and I can use this to drill down into exactly what the root cause of the quality issue is. Once I've identified a subset of logs that I want to go fix, I can simply open them up in the same MLflow UI, add them to my evaluation set, and continue iterating. Now, let's imagine I'm ready for production. Some of the challenges we've heard from customers here are, how do I enable telemetry and observability in production? Ideally with the same data that I'm getting during development. How do I turn that agent code that I made in my notebook into a production-ready, highly scalable service? And when I'm executing this tool code, some of it generated by an LLM, how do I do it securely in a sandbox environment and ensure that it respects all my governance policies? Well, the best part about agent evaluation and agent framework is actually all I need is this command. The same command I use for pre-production. This takes my agent code, turns it into a highly scalable, production-ready service on model serving. It enables, through the gateway, the inference tables that I showed you earlier. So I have full observability and telemetry of exactly what's happening. And the code, the tool code, is running in a secure sandboxed environment through LakeGuard. So it's respecting all of my Unity catalog permissions. And this same dashboard just works out of the box. So with that, in closing, that was a demo of how Mosaic AI Agent Framework and Agent Evaluation, coupled with the rest of our Mosaic AI tools, can help you build production quality, enterprise-ready agents faster. Thanks for listening.